going to be talking about today is something that's really become more and more a point of discussion, and that's distracted driving. And distracted driving anymore has become really an epidemic in American roads. And Missouri is no exception to this issue. With more distractions than ever competing for a driver's attention, from smartphones to GPS systems, to even fast foods, or even just tiredness, many people who are driving fail to give the road the full attention that it probably deserves. The consequences can really be devastating, and we can talk about both physical and legal consequences of distracted driving. And in this video, what we're going to talk about today is really what is distracted driving under Missouri law, what's the different types of distractions that can lead to crashes, and most importantly, what are the legal consequences drivers may face if they cause an accident due to being distracted. So first and foremost, what is distracted driving? Distracted driving refers to really any activity that takes the driver's attention away from the task, and this can come in different categories. We're talking about three common categories. First is visual distraction, which is obvious. It's taking your eyes off the road. There's also manual distraction, which is, of course, taking your hands off the road. And then there can be cognitive distractions, and this is when you take your mind off of driving. Some simple examples include texting or checking email, eating or drinking, adjusting the radio or GPS, talking to passengers, or just simply reaching for an object. The most dangerous distractions often involve a combination of really all three. This could be when you're texting while driving, which requires to look at the screen, use your hands, and then mentally process what you're texting. Now, Missouri has some laws on distracted driving, and Missouri's laws are sometimes limiting in that they can impose some pretty restrictive requirements on people. For instance, we have a law in Missouri which is now preventing you from using your cell phone. And if you do use your cell phone, there can be criminal and potentially civil consequences for anybody who's driving and texting under the age of 21. And this specifically prevents people from holding a cell phone while driving, sending, reading, or writing text messages, browsing the internet or watching videos, or engaging in video calls or using social media apps. There can, of course, be some exceptions, such as hands-free driving usage, voice-to-text functions, or emergency communication with law enforcement or emergency services. But violations can be significant. They can include fines or, more seriously, increased liability if you were to cause an accident. There are, of course, many legal consequences if you're driving and distracted in Missouri. When a driver causes a car crash due to being distracted, the consequences go beyond just a traffic ticket. And let me break down some different ways that there can be potential legal fallout. First, there's, of course, the traffic violations and fines. Distracted driving is a moving violation. And if you're caught while holding a cell phone or texting behind the wheel, then it can result in fines. Sometimes the initial fine can be up to $150. Repeat offenses or violations in construction or school zones can also lead to higher fines and points on your license. Accumulating points can ultimately lead to your license suspension or even higher insurance premiums. In addition to the criminal consequences, there's of course civil liability for an accident. This can include if you were to be distracted and cause a collision, that not only, as I mentioned, the criminal consequences, there can be monetary penalty for distracted driving. This means there may be personal injury claims that are filed against you, and the driver and their insurance may have to pay for medical bills, lost wages, pain, suffering, and other damages. Distracted driving is a clear example of negligence under Missouri law, and if proven, it can greatly strengthen the party who's injured case. Missouri law does use a comparative fault system, meaning that the driver's share of fault reduces their ability to recover damages. So even if you're found entirely at fault due to distraction, you may then be 100% responsible for all the damages that resulted. There is a category of damages called punitive damages, and in some cases, distracted driving can be so reckless that it actually qualifies for punitive damages. And what that means is that the financial penalty may be specifically to deter the driver from the specific conduct. For example, if you had somebody that was live streaming or watching a video while driving and seriously injured someone, a judge or jury might award punitive damages in addition to the standard compensating damages. Now, criminal charges can become really significant. When distracted driving results in serious injury or death, the driver can face significant criminal charges like involuntary manslaughter, assault in the second degree, or even reckless driving. These charges can carry really significant consequences such as jail time, probation, permanent criminal record, as well as loss of driving privileges. And prosecutors do look at whether the distracted driving showed a deliberate disregard for human life, such as reading a text on the highway or driving through a school zone while using your phone. So the question may become, how do you prove distracted driving? Well, in a personal injury case, proving the other driver was distracted can be key in recovering damages. And lawyers can use several things, such as cell phone records, dash cam or surveillance video, police reports, witness statements, or sometimes accident reconstruction experts to try to indicate that someone may have been distracted. This is why it's crucial for accident victims to speak with a personal injury attorney quickly, because evidence disappears and legal support that you need to preserve can oftentimes be lost. So what do you do if you're injured by a distracted driver? If you've been hurt in a car crash and you suspect the other person was distracted, you should probably take the following steps. First, of course, call 911 and report the accident. Make sure to document the scene, take photos, get witness information, get their phone numbers, seek medical attention. Sometimes even if the injuries seem minor at first, somebody may have a significant injury that later shows up after the adrenaline fades away. Also, don't speak to the other driver's insurance adjuster without legal advice. Everything you say to them is being recorded and is oftentimes being used against you at a later date. Finally, contact a personal injury lawyer who's been experienced in cases, especially those involving distracted driving, because they can be critical in establishing case value that's meaningful. Distracted driving in Missouri ultimately carries legal consequences that can be serious, especially in states that have laws to prevent cell phone use. But beyond the fines and traffic ticket, it's really human life that's on the line. Things like injuries, trauma, and even people losing their lives can be the consequence of distracted driving. So if you've been hurt due to someone else's distraction behind the wheel, don't face it alone. Give us a shout, and we're here to help.